this section off of this video for people who are watching it after the event. We'll just wait for the live stream to catch up. There we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Monday night live chat here on Brooks's Bass Corner. Hope you're all safe and well. I'm Mike Brooks. Welcome to my my live chat on Monday evenings. If you were here last week, thank you for attending again. If this is your first Monday evening here, then you're more than welcome. We will be discussing a whole load of bass related topics this evening. We're going to be talking gear, we're talking albums, we're talking pedals, we're talking getting out there and gigging again, we're talking playing at festivals, and if there's any advice I can possibly offer you that might make your festival gigging experience a little more enjoyable, and also discussing any albums, essential bass albums that you'd like to talk about. Before we go any further, I've got to do the hello viewers, hello subscribers. Thank you very much for all your comments, all your thumbs up, all your support on the channel over the last week, and actually over the last 2 years. Next week is the 2nd anniversary of me starting Brooks's Bass Corner. So if you've been there from the start, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. If you're new to the fold, welcome. You are more than welcome. Anything you wish to contribute, anything you'd like to discuss this evening, by all means, use the chat window on the right hand side of your screen. If you're on the desktop app, can't remember where that section is on the mobile app. I'm guessing it's underneath the video window. So if you've got anything you'd like to discuss regarding bass, bass playing, bass players, gear, music, bands, if you'd like to ask me any questions about writing for Bass Player magazine, feel free. If I can help in any way, offer you some advice, or try and steer you in the right direction regarding gear or anything that I've written in reviews or on the video reviews on this channel, if I can help you, I'm more than happy to. If you're enjoying this video, or if you're enjoying any of the videos on the channel or any of the content, then please hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell, and you will be alerted when I post up new videos and any new content. And also if I post up messages on the community tab. The community tab is a section on YouTube for those of us that produce content, which is basically, it works in the same way as a social media channel. So I can communicate with you via messages, I can post up links, photos, videos, or anything that I think you guys out there need to know in YouTube land. So yeah, if you enjoy anything on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and give any of the videos a thumbs up. It really is appreciated. It helps with the YouTube algorithm and how the channel does in terms of being put forward to what you guys see on the YouTube platform. So all of that is very much appreciated. For those who are either new to YouTube or aren't aware of all the extra features, there is a section on the chat window if you're looking on the desktop app, and basically you'll see a smiley face, which is for emojis. You'll see a $sign, which is for something called super chat, which I'll come back to in a second. There's also a poll icon, which I think is for me, not for you guys. Going back to the app, if you enjoy anything that we're talking about in the chat, you can donate to the channel via that icon. All monies that come into the channel go towards buying new equipment for review, keeping the channel going. I'm looking at getting some merchandise done very shortly, so any contributions you make to the channel go straight back into the channel, including studio hire for future videos where I might need a bit more room than I've actually got here. So any donations you care to make are very gratefully received, and I'll say thank you in advance. Also, there's a new feature that's come out on YouTube. You may be aware of it or you may not, which is called Super Thanks. Now, Super Thanks works basically in the same way. It allows you to donate to channels, but it's actually on every single video. So if you look below the video window, you'll see some icons. You'll see the thumbs up, you'll see the dislike, thumbs down icon, share, save. On that row, you will see another dollar symbol. I think it's a dollar symbol. And that allows you to make a contribution to a channel based on what you've seen in a given video. So if there's any content on this channel that you particularly enjoy, if you hit that and you wish to donate to the channel, then again, it's very much appreciated. Right, the marketing section is finished. If you have been following the channel, over the past week, I've run a couple of polls on the community tab. If you hadn't seen those polls, then where were you? And you would have seen it come up on the mobile feed. You should also have seen it coming up on the desktop platform. So I ran a couple of polls just to gauge what viewers and subscribers and friends of the channel thought to a series of polls. So basically I asked you guys if you were out gigging or you literally had to take one bass out to a gig, what would you prefer? A 4-string, a 5-string, a 6-string, or a fretless in any string format? The 4-string came out head and shoulders above everything else. I then asked, what equipment would you play through on an amp, on a gig? Generally, what are you using now that we're kind of back out and gigging? What's your preference? So do you use an amplifier with no cabinet and then take a DI signal from there? Do you use a combo? Do you use an amplifier and a speaker cabinet? Or are you going for pretty much just a preamp or a DI preamp pedal? So for example, we're talking things like Songs amps, EBS micro bass preamps, we're talking Aguilar tone hammers, we're talking electro harmonics battalions, that kind of thing. Again, the winner, well, I say winner, the most voted for was a combo, which actually surprised me. So maybe a lot of people are traveling on public transport and therefore they can't really take a speaker cabinet and an amp and a bass and all the cables. So maybe a small combo, maybe something like a Mark bass or an EBS or Galleon Crew. I mean, there's plenty of combos out there. That seemed to be the preferred method of amplification on a gig. Then I also ran a poll to see. I just put up 4 different types of effect pedal to see what people were using the most. So I listed a chorus, a flanger, a distortion, and an octave pedal. And pretty much the distortion and octave pedal came out equal. So there's obviously people who like a bit of grit in their sound and in their bass tone. And the merits of an octave pedal are well known. If you don't use either of those pedals, maybe it's time to investigate further. There are some demos and reviews of various pedals that fit that format here on the channel. There'll be links for anything that I reference in this live chat in the description box below. Probably do that tomorrow, I think. So if you're listening to this or watching it at a later date, anything that's referenced, there will be a link to it in the description box. I say listen to it. I've been told by a couple of bass playing friends that they've actually started listening to the live chats as podcasts. So when they're driving hundreds of miles back from gigs on weekend evenings, they're listening to these live chats that we're doing on the Monday on their way back. So if you are listening at a later date, hello, safe driving, and I hope you enjoy the content that we've got coming up tonight. Before we go further, some of you out there may know this chap, some of you may not. A friend of mine, Steve Lawson, quite a celebrity on the bass circuit, and a fellow writer with Bass Player magazine, and again was a contributor like I was to Bass Guitar magazine before it got amalgamated into Bass Player. If you aren't already aware, Steve is currently suffering from lymphoma, which is a fairly aggressive form of cancer. This is quite sudden. It came out of nowhere a couple of weeks ago. If you know Steve, know of Steve, have listened to his material, attended any of his gigs or clinics or what have you, some support would be most welcome. I don't have to do this, but I wanted to do it. So if you don't already know Steve, but you may have heard of his name, and you may have seen photos of him. For many years, he could have been considered Geddy Lee's stepson. But at the moment, he's going through a really hard time, and there are financial struggles ahead for the man. So I'm just putting this out there. If you would like to help Steve in any way, shape, manner, or form, by all means, contact him, communicate with him through social media. He's on virtually every platform. He is also on Bandcamp, and I think if you just go into Bandcamp and search for Steve Lawson, you will find him. Again, I will put links in the description box below. He has said, rather than people making financial donations on the fly and just sending him money to help get through what is going to be a very hard and difficult period for him and his family, for the small price of 30 UK pounds, you can subscribe to Steve's Bandcamp channel. That gives you access to literally every album the guy has ever produced, released, played on. He produces new music at a startling rate. I mean, it's quite phenomenal. I had forgotten quite how immense his output was and is. So if through the sheer goodness of your heart you wish to help Steve out in this time, and as musicians, when these things happen, there is no pension fund, there's no welfare or anything going on in the music business, because we're all self-employed. So he has literally got to fend for himself at the moment. So if you can help in any way, shape, manner, or form, by either buying CDs, downloads, but the easiest way, and he has said this on his social media, the easiest and best way is to help through his Bandcamp channel on that platform. So again, I will post links below, and if you can help Steve in any way, it will be very greatly appreciated. Okay, I am going to quickly mention some of the gigs I've done over this summer period, and this week is going to be immense. I've had a number of you out there asking me why there haven't been review videos and more content going up recently. It's been simply the fact that I've been gigging so much and having to put in the prep and learning songs and sets, and some weeks it's bands I've never played with, and there is no fast track to learning material. Yes, you can read dots, but I don't read, but a lot of bands don't have dots for you to use, so you basically have to learn the material. This week is going to be quite frantic. I've got 5 gigs starting tomorrow: Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On Wednesday night, I get a night off to go and see Marcus Miller at Ronnie Scott's, which I can't wait for. Last week was a mixed bag. I got to do a theatre show with some friends who I had performed for back in May, which was playing with the Hello Again, the Neil Diamond story, a touring theatre show here in the UK and across Europe. Basically a tribute show to the magnificent output of Neil Diamond. Well, last week we got to play in Colchester at the Mercury Theatre. Now, the fact I'd done that show about 2 months ago, thankfully I'd made notes. I'd made quite extensive notes for the whole set, which meant I was able to do a quick revise and do the show on the Thursday. It was outstanding and a lot of fun. And if any of the guys from the band are watching this, Darren, Big Darren, Gary, Dave, Izzy, if any of you are watching, Andy, how could I forget Andy? But if any of you are watching, thank you very much for making that a great gig. I really enjoyed it. Aside from the van and transportation issues that we had after the show, but we got there, and I know the guys did a gig on the Isle of Wight on Saturday, so all their transport woes got sorted one way or another, and I hope you had a great gig. It looked like you did on social media. So again, thank you very much. Then Saturday, I was doing a wedding a private event for a band I'd never played with before. Kind of last minute depping. The gig had been in for a while, but we weren't sent all the details and the set list and material until the week before. So basically I had to learn about 36 songs. Now some of them obviously I'd played before, but some of them I hadn't. Some were segued. So basically you might have 3, 4, 5, 6 songs with no gaps in between. So literally going from one song to the next, to the next, to the next without kind of dropping a beat. And again, a great bunch of guys. I'd never met any of them before Saturday, and we had an absolute blast. The material was great. They were all seriously on it. I'll give a big shout out to Ben. If you're watching, Ben, you did a blinding job. And there was a lot of wireless going on. We're talking in-ear monitoring and instrument wireless systems. And yet it all went off great with no problems, no issues whatsoever. So to the guys and girls in Soulbeat, or Atlantica as we were called at the weekend, thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. It was great. So this week I've got a corporate function tomorrow with Miracle Cure. Hello guys, if you're out there watching. And then Thursday, Friday and Saturday I have gigs with Uncle Funk's Disco Inferno, which is the disco funk show band that I'm currently working with and started working with last year, although I was adept for 3 or 4 years beforehand. So this week we have festival dates at Stand and Calling in Hertfordshire on Thursday, supporting the likes of Madness and Gabrielle. And then Friday we're at Chidfest supporting Five and Dario G. Then Saturday we've got a private function. Then on Sunday I'm playing with Platinum ABBA, an ABBA tribute that I've been playing with on and off for the best part of 24 years. I did my first gig for them back in 1998, and here we are in 2022. And the set's basically the same. But that's cool. That's what ABBA tributes do. We play the hits. So we are at Marvellous Festival in Wokingham on Sunday. I think we're on around about 20 to 7. So kind of after the afternoon slots are done, as we go into the evening and the nighttime sets, we will be on at about 20 to 7 on Sunday. So if you're going, or you're going to any of those shows or any of those festivals, I will see you there. Can't guarantee which instruments I'm taking yet. We will pick those on the day for each band. And actually, I'm probably going to start doing some videos for the channel where I go through the gear I've got on each gig. I take different basses depending on the bands I'm playing and depending on what the gig is. And also my pedal board changes. I wouldn't say quite often, but for example, last week I had 2 different boards for 2 different gigs, and I suspect this week's going to be pretty much the same. So there'll be one board for Uncle Funk with all the envelope filters and funky stuff, and then a bit more sedate, a more sedate pedal board for Miracle Cure and Platinum ABBA, but we'll see how we go. So yeah, a busy week coming up. So tonight's conversation, for anyone who's just joined us, you're welcome to post questions and enter the chat via the chat window. The more the merrier. If you guys chat, it makes what I'm doing a little easier because there's a bit more communication. Otherwise, you've got to sit and listen to me talk for the best part of an hour. So if you've got anything you want to discuss regarding bass, equipment, reviews, stuff on the channel, doing gigs, any bands or material you'd like to discuss, or if you would like some advice or some help regarding gear or going out and playing, then stick it in the chat window and I will reply. And already we've got Mr. Darren Juniper. Good evening, sir. Welcome. Thank you very much for the Neil Diamond gig last week. It was a real pleasure. Thank you for stepping up, Mike. I've had it on good authority that you were outstanding as usual. Well, the check's in the post. Thank you very much for the show, mate. It was a real honor and a privilege, and I know Darren has been doing this show for 5 years, give or take the period with COVID, and the 2 shows I've decked for him, I think, according to someone else in the band last week, are the only shows you've ever decked out. So I'm quite honored that you asked me to do them, and You know, anytime I can help, as long as I'm available, I'll be there for you. But it's good fun. You know, it's a great show. If you're watching this and you've seen that the Hello Again show is coming to your neighbourhood or local district, I strongly advise you buy many tickets and take all your friends, because it really is a good night out. The band is top notch, the material is outstanding, and it's good fun. It's really good fun. Yes, so if you've got any questions, gear, bass gear, guitars, amplifiers, effect pedals, anything you want to discuss regarding gigs, writing for the bass player magazine. If you want to talk about any bass albums or bass players and essential albums, if you don't already know, I have a playlist here on the channel which has 23 videos, and basically I am talking about essential bass albums that, in my opinion, if you missed out on them or you've never paid any attention to them or haven't listened to them, they are well worth investigating. So if you've got any suggestions on things you might like to put forward for me to include in the next series of those videos, then by all means, please contribute. You're more than welcome. Now, okay, festival advice and effects discussion. Okay, festival advice. Okay, because no one's asked any questions, I'll start. So let's think. Up until last year, so as we came out of lockdown and COVID, I hadn't done a whole lot of festival work. I'd done bits and pieces, but never prolonged playing in one band or several bands doing lots of festivals. And it was a rude awakening, and it was a real eye-opener very, very quickly. So one of the first gigs I did after we came out of lockdown was the first show as part of the new lineup for Uncle Funk, which is now called Uncle Funk's Disco Inferno. Our very first show was at Marvelous Festival, headlining the Saturday night. So there was backline provided. I had my own backline. I actually had these two Aguilar cabs and a DB751. And I had my pedal board. Now, for years, I've not really used loads of pedals. I just didn't need to. But with Uncle Funk, it's kind of, you can make the bass chair, it's like putting icing on the cake. You're just adding another level of sound quality on top of your general bass signal. So for songs where there might be a phaser or an envelope filter or an octave pedal or some chorus or some fuzz or what have you, that just gives you those extra opportunities. And also, I was well aware that there was going to come a point doing some of these gigs where I would be well served not to use backline, but to use a preamp pedal. So I opted to go for the Aguilar tone hammer. The other reason for this was, within Uncle Funk, the previous lineup of the band had all used backline amplification. The idea this time was not to use backline, but we were all going to run on IEMs, in-ear monitors. So there weren't going to be a floor, there wasn't going to be a floor or a stage full of monitoring. It was all going to be in areas that we could control by our mobile phones and an app on iPads. So for that first gig, I turned up with the backline and the pedal board and the in-ear monitoring, and I thought, oh, well, this is all good. There was already backline there. So I said, okay, well, look, I'll bypass getting my stuff out because it's more gear to carry and what have you. So I went with the backline that was supplied. I then started setting up my pedal board, doing my in-ear monitoring, setting up my basses and cabling it all up, and it all looked great. And then the stage manager said, you're on in 5 minutes. And all the bands looking at it because everything had run over. So we were now up against the clock to get ready in time for when we started in 5 minutes. Well, we had costumes to put on. So all of us in the band, aside from the singers, were frantically plugging everything in. It just became a bit of a mess. So I then very quickly realized, on these gigs, you don't have time for backline. You just don't. And you're going to have to put your faith in the monitoring. Some of the festivals, there's still monitoring. But for the in-ear monitoring side of things, you're literally going to have to just run off your pedal board. Well, I managed to get my costume on, and I think as the opening backing track, the intro that we were coming on to, I was still putting my headpiece on and my sunglasses and the in-ears in, and I still hadn't put my bass on, and it all worked. The second gig, a few days later, similar thing happened, by which point I'd already gone, I'm not taking the backline on. But again, we literally had 10 minutes to go up on the stage, set ourselves up, come off, get our costumes on, and go on. And it was frantic. And after that gig, I made a point of noting, get your costume on, either wear a jacket or a hoodie or something over the top so you're not giving the full game away. Put any extra bits like headpiece, glasses, in-ear monitors, just to one side, either around the back of the stage or to the side. Set that board up, set your bass up, which doesn't take more than about 3-4 minutes. And then all you got to do is add the extra bits. And that has worked a treat from that point on. And as we are now in the summer and we're doing lots of festivals, I've gone exactly the same route again. I'll always have backline with me in my car in case I need it, or I think the gig needs it, or the monitoring goes wrong, or the IEMs go wrong, or for any reason our routing hub doesn't work. I've still got the security of having some of this behind me. But generally, I am just going with a pedal board, and the signal that is going out front is going via my preamp DI pedal, which for my choice is an Aguilar tone hammer. And that seems to be working. So what I found was I just needed to strip out all the extraneous stuff that needed setting up. Now it's literally, I get on the stage, pedal board comes out, 4-way extension board for the plugs, plug the power supplies that I need in, set the IEMs up, set the iPad up, and that's it, I'm done. So you may find that doesn't work for you. For me, it does, and it means everything is super quick, super tidy, and it also means when you finish and the next band are trying to come on with all their gear and everything, it literally takes 2 minutes to just put all that stuff back in its case, put the bass in a gig bag, and I'm off, I'm done. So you've got none of this trying to carry cabinets and amplifiers up and down stage stairs, and which can be a real nightmare. And also if it's raining or it's wet, those steps are going to be wet. Just eradicate the problems as much as you can. My other advice would be, I'll try and rattle these off pretty quickly, but get there as early as you can. I've had a couple of times where, not just with Uncle Funk, but with other bands, been given times to get at festivals. You turn up and you find the traffic's bad. You can't, the actual going in and registering, accreditation, is taking hours. Trying to find where your band is, trying to find where the backstage area is, where your green room or your changing room is. It takes so much time. Thinking you can turn up literally about 20 minutes before you're due to go on, don't do that. It's not going to work, and it's going to end really badly. So do as much as you can, get there as early as you can, and make everything as easy for yourself as possible. Now, if you're on another gig, and I know some bands will do 2 or 3 festivals in a day, then it's going to be what it's going to be. You know, finishing one and getting to the next, that's going to be what it is. But if you've only got one on a certain day, just give yourself as much time as you possibly can. I mean, don't be there for 10 hours and you don't need to be, but, you know, get there a good hour and a half, 2 hours before, if that's feasible. Because it also means you haven't got any worries regarding parking. You know, the things that sap your time on a festival can really just run away, and next thing you look at your watch and you're on in 10 minutes. It's like, oh my God, you know, I feel like I've only just got here. But you haven't, you've actually been there for 2 hours. So getting fed, getting watered, you might need the toilet. Toilets at festivals aren't always the greatest either. You know, if you've got any problems with your guitar, certainly in the summer months, you've got a wooden neck instead of a graphite neck. That neck could move, you might need to adjust it and reset up your bass. You can go on with it playing badly, but why would you want to do that? So, you know, give yourself as much time. I would strongly suggest, and I've had this already a couple of times this summer because I'm vegetarian, do not always assume that you're going to get fed and watered. But for the most part you will, But as a veggie, or if you're vegan, you may sometimes struggle. I mean, a couple of festivals I've done, they had no veggie options, or the veggie options had sold out. So what are you going to do if there's no food and you're in a field that's miles away from anywhere else? So take some food, even if it's just like basically a sandwich and a packet of crisps and some fruit or a piece of chocolate, and plenty of water. A big old bottle like this will get you through a gig and during the day if you need it. So, you know, have a water bottle, or take like a supermarket 2-litre bottle of water, and that will just get you through if you need it. And I think that's probably it for the festival advice. If you've got any questions, you guys out there, or if you've got any other suggestions, by all means, let me know. Deodorant, very important, and not just on festival gigs either. And also, just in case you eat something that doesn't agree with you, take some Imodium. It really doesn't, you know, you literally buy a box of Imodium and stick them in your bag and you've always got them. But I've done a couple of festivals where something I've eaten just hasn't agreed, and you're going on, and yeah, we've all kind of been there. So yeah, pack some Imodium. Back to the questions. Darren Juniper, never debt to gig out in 30 years of pro touring. Wowzers. I mean, I haven't debt many out. I think probably can be more than about 12 or 13, I think. But never debt one out in 30 years. Well done, sir. You were top of the list. Thank you. That check's getting bit. I'll rewrite the check. And will always be my first call. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So thank you, mate. Hopefully I'll be able to put you on some stuff at some point with the various projects and bands I'm playing with. So keep your phone turned on, sir. You never know when I might be calling or messaging. So yeah, but again, thank you very much for those gigs, Darren. Really appreciate it. It was such good fun, and the whole Neil Diamond back catalogue is such great fun to play. So and it was a lot of work, but thankfully I made all the notes I needed, and now it's just a case of a refresh anytime you ask me. So all good, all good. Next thing I want to talk about, effects discussion. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of pedal reviews here on the channel. There's going to be a whole load more as of next week, and this week's gigs are out of the way. Next week is going to be a lot of videos going up, so get ready. So I just wanted to discuss with you lovely bass playing folk out there, what's your preference? Do you prefer individual pedals? Do you prefer multi-effects units? Are any of you still using rack-mounted effect units? Is line 6 the be-all and end-all? Are any of you using the gig rig stuff? Daniel Steinhardt, good evening, sir, if you're out there. Steiny and I go way back. We used to play a lot of the walkabout venues. Not together. Very often he was doing a solo show, and then my band would go on, or vice versa. So if you're out there, Steiny, good evening. Hope you're well. Hope you're safe and well. Yeah, so effects. What effects are you guys out there getting the most mileage out of? Are a lot of you just not using effects? But judging by what I see on social media and online, and comments I get through the channel, we seem to be using a lot more effects than maybe we used to. Is that because more high profile bands are making a point of using effects and using them on quite signature songs? For example, Muse. I mean, Chris Wolstenholme loves an effect pedal, and he's got plenty of them, as well as many basses. So and I normally what happens, or in my experience what happens, is a song will become popular, and suddenly in order to do that song properly, in order to get the sound that's on the original, you need to have a specific pedal. For many years, Deep Impact pedals, and now the Future Impact were the sought after things. When Lenny Kravitz did Fly Away, everyone suddenly had to have a phaser. Octave pedals were the order of the day for quite a while. various distortions and fuzzes. So what are you guys using? You know, tell me what pedals, what brands of pedal are you getting the most mileage out of? Personally, for years I didn't use any. Right, I really didn't. The only thing I ever generally used was an EBS Grey Label Octave pedal, which was an octabass, and that was great. And that kind of did everything that I needed on an effects level. And the band I played in for many years just didn't need a lot of bass effects. We weren't doing a lot of funky stuff, so that wasn't really required. I didn't particularly need a distorted bass tone. Chorus had gone out of favour. So effects weren't really required. Yet since I left that band and have freelance more, my effects use has kind of gone through the roof. Just because playing in certain bands and a lot of the disco-y, dancey stuff, especially the modern stuff, has quite affected bass tones. I know a lot of the Dua Lipa stuff, although it's a very fat bass tone, you can tell there's either a lot of compression or there's various effects being applied to get that tone. And if you're going out and playing in what I call a modern function band, you need to be able to call on these tones. They don't just want a straight, clean bass sound. So, you know, those pedals are, and I accept that, you know, when this stuff's being recorded, the producer and the engineer will use plugins and what have you, but what are people using? I mean, are any of you running laptops with plugins instead of a standard sort of effects, pedals, rack mounts and what have you? Any of you using laptops to do it? Is that the thing? But yeah, just if you've got any suggestions or any sort of perspective on this, I'm interested to hear it. Especially stuff that everyone, you know, is using and getting mileage out of, because these things they can be a fashion thing, but they can also be quite cyclical. I'm seeing more and more bass players and talking to more and more bass players who are using chorus more. That seems to be coming back in. Again, I don't know why, whether it's just to fatten up the bass tone or whether they actually want more of the modulation side of a chorus effect. But yeah, so I will hand it over to you guys. I can see there's some people out there. So, you know, if you'd like to contribute, by all means, enter your input into the chat window. And if I can help in any way, I'm more than happy to do so. And while you guys are thinking of some stuff to say, if you're new to the channel, or even if you've been here for the 2 years that this channel's been running, if you're enjoying what you see, if you're enjoying the videos, enjoying the content, please hit the subscribe button below. Hit the notification bell, which will send you notifications when I post on the community tab, when I upload new content, or when I have any input on YouTube, you will get a notification. You can select different levels of notifications. So if you don't want any notifications, you select none. If you want highlighted notifications, so like important things like video uploads, you'll get those. If you want to know everything that I do with YouTube, then click on all and you'll get a notification every time I have any interaction regarding content here on the YouTube platform. And if you're enjoying this video, enjoying this live chat, or enjoying any of the videos, if you can give it a thumbs up, that would be really greatly appreciated. And if you've got any comments or anything you'd like to discuss regarding any of the videos, then leave a comment and I will come back to you as soon as I possibly can. I'm usually quite quick with that, so you won't be waiting for days and days and days to get a reply. I will get a reply to you as soon as I can. So this is the second of 5 Monday night live chats that are booked in. I did the first one last week. We got another 3 after this. So this is live chat number 17. There's another 3 to go. And they will always be on Mondays at 8 o'clock, unless something dreadful happens or the world is about to end. I will be here, and if you care to join me, you are more than welcome. And your input is very much appreciated. I'm just trying to think if there's something else I need to let you know. If, like I say, this is live chat 17. If you wish to look at any of the other live chats that went before, or if you just want to listen to the soundtrack without the video, use it as essentially a podcast, you are free to do that. Literally just go to the playlist section and you'll see a live chat playlist. Alternatively, below this video and any of the live chats, there's a pinned comment that will say, if you enjoyed this video, if you want to watch any of the other live chats, there's a link. It will take you straight through. And also I will put another link in the description box as well. Darren Juniper, question, what do you use for effects? Pedals or multi-effects? And what are your views on modelers like Helix, Quad Cortex or Kemper Profiler? Well, young Darren, as I just said, for years I didn't really use effects. I had loads of them. I just didn't use them. I bought the important things that I needed just in case someone asked for it, but then just very rarely ever use them. So my effects use is basically, since we've come out of lockdown, has kind of just sort of bloomed because of playing with Uncle Funk, and also more and more venues not wanting backline or using in-ear monitoring and trying to keep noise levels down on stage. So my preference at the moment is for pedals, individual pedals that do a really good job, rather than a multi-effect unit. I sometimes find those things can be such a compromise. They can be very handy because everything's all in one box and that's all you set up. But if I was to put several of my effect pedals up against the effects that are in the multi-effects, you would hear the difference quite radically. But it depends what you need the effects to do. So if you're looking for like an EQ or a boost, a bit of compression and some chorus, then a multi-effects probably will be fine. Personally, I'd rather do it all with individual pedals, because also if one goes down, you haven't lost all the rest. You know, all it's going to take is a quick patch lead to keep going. Whereas if you're on a gig and the whole unit goes down, well, then the whole unit's gone down. You've got nothing left. But it's more about the quality of the tone and the sound and the effect that I would prefer. So my preference is for individual pedals. I mean, years ago, I won't pan the camera, but up here in this rack, and it's actually above where my hand is, there's a PV Bass Specs, which is an early to mid 90s effect unit by PV. They did a guitar version. This is the bass version. It's great. It's outstanding. It sounds great. Really good. Not the easiest thing to get the best sounds out of, because it's designed around using it with the effect unit being your preamp. So then running it through a power amp into a cabinet or a PA system. It was my ideal setup. And I hunted for this for years, and I even found the floor unit as well. I did all that through did I do that through eBay or Loot? I think it was Loot. It may even have been through a second-hand store. I could go back through emails and I'll find out how I did it. Anyway, so I ended up with the separate rack mount for the effects processor, and I had the separate pedal board to go with it. And I spent good 2 or 3 weeks trying to get a load of patches for the material that I was playing in my main covers band, because at that time that was the only band I was playing in. I do the occasional dep, but we were so busy with sort of 4, 5, 6 gigs a week that I was just trying to come up with really good patches for, and we were covering a lot of genres. So we do a lot of dance stuff, some funky stuff, we do some heavier stuff. It was just trying to get sounds. And at that time, so in the early 2000s, say 2001 through to about 2004, I was trying to build up my bass collection. I was buying some effect pedals. Now I had this unit. I started getting into 5 strings, and I just wanted to have the tools of the trade if I needed them. So I spent 2 to 3 weeks trying to program up all these sounds. I thought it was the bee's knees. I turned up at a sizable pub gig and thought, God, they're going to be so impressed with this. I've got all those sounds off those records. I was playing through a 4x10, 500 watt amp. Thought this is going to be amazing. I didn't have any monitoring. The singers had monitoring, but I didn't. And I started playing all these sounds at sound check, and I'm thinking, I can't hear the effects. I can hear the bass, but I can't hear the effects I've added. And I was clicking through all the patches and either finding the patches weren't loud enough, or the effects weren't loud enough, or if I started to play with EQ on the bass, suddenly these effects that I programmed up, an effect changed, multiple effects. It sounded dreadful. And I tried to do the gig, and I was like leaning down trying to hear my cab, going, I can't hear the effect. It was coming out front, but I couldn't hear it. And I was so disappointed and shocked, I didn't take it out on another gig. So that effects processor has sat in that rack for the best part of 20 years, not doing very much. But if I ended up in an originals project or in a name project, and I had to come up with assorted effect chains that I can't get on the pedals I've got, it's there. So if I needed like reverbs and delays and all sorts of other stuff, I mean, I won't go through all the effects that are on this processor, but it's sizable. And I'm sure if you did a Google search, you'll find a PV bass effects, and it will list out everything they do. I'm sure there's YouTube videos, and I should probably do one. I wanted that to be my be all and end all. So literally a tuner, that processor, a wireless unit, and my amp all in one rack, done. But it was such a come down from thinking I had all these sounds right, and that really highlighted to me that you can spend hours and days and weeks and months of your time at home in your bedroom programming up things, working on stuff, but when it comes out to the gig, that's the acid test. And on that occasion, it failed miserably. So really what you've got to do is then go from that gig and reset up those sounds, either at a sound check or turn up to the next gig a bit before time and work it all out. Because in the space of a venue or a given stage or the PA you're going to be going through, all those sounds and tones can change. So what sounded great at home, and you can hear every nuance and how the strings sound, that all changes. And you can take the effect side of this out of the equation. I'm talking basses, amplification, anything. You do it at home, that's one thing. You get it on a live stage, it's a totally different beast. So be prepared that things that you might prepare at home don't sound the same when you get them out on a live stage. But that's just the nature of doing this. You learn all this as you go along. So for years after that, again in that band, I didn't use anything except an EBS Octave pedal. That was pretty much my go-to, and I got a lot of mileage out of it. Still got it here, and there will be a review and a demo video of it coming up very soon. So that's my view on those, Darren. Right, views on models like Helix, Quad Cortex and Kemper. Kemper I have no personal experience of. The guitarist in Uncle Funk, Bobby Harrison, good evening Bob if you're there, he plays guitar for Cliff Richard, and he's got several Kempers and he swears by them. And I have to say, in all the years I've done this, I've never seen someone set up and break down as quick as Bob does. I mean, I've barely taken the lead out of my bass on a gig and he's already packed up and in the car and on his way home. So Kemper I personally don't have any experience of, but I don't know too many bass players that use it, because I think it's a profiler with bass patches in it. It's not actually designed as a bass specific version, but there are some people that are using them and they seem to like them. Not for me. I think, again, I'd spend so much time setting things up, get them out on a gig, and it wouldn't sound great. And bass is a very funny thing when it comes to effects and patches and, again, nuance. In a studio, that is all going to come, whatever you program into it is going to come across. In a live setting, you've got too many other variables to contend with. So you could end up, if you bought a modeling thing or a Kemper profiler, you could spend days, weeks, months of your life chasing something you're not going to achieve. But there's no harm in trying. You know, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying be prepared for that learning curve, and you could be constantly tweaking. Quad Cortex, again, I don't have any experience. I'm guessing Quad Cortex is either the same or similar to things like the Fractal thing. and I've heard all of these modeling things. There used to be a thing called V-Bass by Roland, which meant you fitted a pickup, a special pickup. And the idea of that really appealed to me. And allegedly you could, you could take any bass, fit that pickup, and you could get Music Man type sounds and graphite bass type sounds and fretless sounds, and you could make it sound like a 5-string, and you could pitch shift, and you could do this, that, and the other, and apply tons and tons and tons and tons of different effects and stuff. And yet I think I knew 2 people that bought them, and they ditched them within like 2 months and just gave up on it. So those things, in the world of bass, I generally think if you want a specific bass sound, or you're looking for a particular sound that particular model offers, then just buy that. You can go down this modeling route, but in terms of bass, I think you're going to get those sounds a lot better and a lot easier just buying the basses. I mean, the same thing happened when Line 6 brought out their bass, their actual bass guitar that had like 10 sounds on it. And some of them sounded reasonable, but again, lots of people bought them and then found out that the bass kind of generally sort of fell apart a bit after it started gigging it heavily. And again, you see them on, loads of them on eBay, and people selling them on quite often. So I'm guessing on that level, that didn't work. And the Helix thing, I did have a Helix Stomp, the smaller version here, for a feature we did in the magazine. And I was really impressed, but it did seem very convoluted. And I think it's one of those things that unless you've got the time to sit and really go into it at a very low level, so you can go, or high level, sorry, where you're going into real detail on parameters and how you're laying out effects. I know Billy Sheehan does it. Billy knows all this stuff like the back of his hand. Personally, I don't really think I've got the attention span to really do it. And again, I think you'd be on gigs and you're going to be constantly tweaking and tweaking. At what point do you stop chasing your tail? So it's kind of, it depends what you're looking for, I think. And these are all tools to get the job done. It's just how you apply the tools in getting that job done, and whether you want to spend lots of your time sat there doing it, or whether you want to get out there and play. And to me, I'd rather have the pedals there and I can just change, the different controls as I require them. But to then have to go into a menu system and do this and save that and then turn that parameter up, and then you want to save it and come back out, and I can't be bothered. I'm sorry, not for me. Darren, I could profile that lovely black Avalon U5 that is nestling in your rack. Yeah, I'm sure you could. A very fine piece of equipment, and for anyone who does any recording, I would strongly suggest looking at getting one of these. They are great. I haven't used it on any of the videos that are on the channel yet, because everything I record goes clean direct into the audio interface, but there may well be a video or 2 coming up where I'm going to plug a bunch of basses in naturally and clean, and then run them through that and change the different settings so you can hear what this unit does. But it's fabulous, and I know many name players that swear by them as well, and well worth the money. Yeah, so there we go. You seem to be dribbling in your emoji, my friend. You need to get a cloth, wipe your chin. So there we go. Okay, we've been on 53 minutes. I'm probably going to do about another 5 minutes. If you've got any questions or anything you'd like to ask, if you're looking for some advice on bass stuff, if you want to ask me any questions about writing for Bass Guitar Magazine, Bass Player Magazine, the bands I work with, the gigs I do, anything I've reviewed, or any of the content on the channel, then please, now is your time to post a message in the chat window. And if nothing else happens, thank you very much for attending the second Monday night live chat here on Brooks's Bass Corner. If you're listening to this after the event, anything I've mentioned or anything that I think is worthwhile linking to, you will find all the links below this video in the description box. They won't be there immediately after this video. It'll be a couple of days probably until I get to do that. But yes, thank you very much for joining us. I can see there are people there, but maybe some of you are too shy to get involved in the live chat, so it's me and Darren hogging it tonight. And we will be back here next Monday at 8 o'clock. I was hoping to get some videos up this week, but I think now with my gig schedule, it's going to be quite tough to post and upload new videos and do them justice in terms of promoting them with the limited time I've got this week. So keep your eyes peeled. Next Monday, as well as the bass chat, the live chat in the evening, there will be a video upload. I haven't decided which one yet, but there is plenty of content now ready to be uploaded. So yes, keep your eyes peeled. So one last time, if you've got any messages or anything you would like to ask, please put it in the chat window now. If you're watching this video after the event, you can still contact me regarding anything that's in this video. Just leave a comment in the area below and I will come back to you as soon as I possibly can. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and please give the video a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. If you're watching any other content here on the channel, thumbs ups are always good. Comments are fabulous. Interaction is much appreciated. If you've enjoyed this live chat, feel free to contribute to the channel via the $, which is on your icon panel below the video. That applies also to any video here on the channel. You can donate funds to the channel. Just clicking on that, it's called a super thanks, and it allows you to make a contribution to the channel, which allows me to keep it going and buy new equipment for review. Allows me to start getting the merchandise sorted out, and also to hire studio space for some of the other video ideas I've got coming up. So I can't do it all in my office here, so I need a slightly larger space, and that's going to require hiring a studio. So on that note, as there are no other questions coming in, I will bid you good night, Darren. I'll bid all you fabulous bass players out there in YouTube land a good evening, and I hope you have a great day, what's left of it. If you're here in the UK, try and stay cool. Try not to fry over the next couple of days, and hopefully I will see you next week, next Monday, 8 p.m. sharp for the next live chat, which will be live chat number 18. And on that note, I will bid you good night. Take it easy, guys and girls. See you soon.